Right. Now let's come to the third and final section of this webinar. This is purely compliance focused. So there are various IRDAI rules governing three documents, the CIS, eIA, and the proposal document. And they all have certain things in common, right? They require verifiable consent. They require certain mandatory details to be filled in. And for the CIS and proposal, they also need to be in vernacular. So what exactly is the issue with the status quo, right? For CIS, I mean, it's slightly different for each document. For CIS, it's a forgotten document. It is sent with the proposal. Most insurers send it with the proposal. But the insurer usually never collects the customer acknowledgement on the CIS, right? This is despite the IRDI requiring customer acknowledgement on CIS specifically as a mandatory requirement. And in fact, if you see the IRDAI CIS template in the annexure, right, it actually requires a signature as the mode of acknowledgement. So most insurers don't, of course, do this because I think IRDAI itself does not enforce this much. However, if they do start enforcing it, most insurers are not ready. For the eIA as well, IRDAI requires a signature very specifically, right, in the annexure itself. And for the proposal, the third document, the IRDAI requires a verifiable consent with clear evidence, right? So first things first, the first thing you need is, of course, for all three documents is you need mandatory details filled in, right? And it's this leg of the process where blank form signing often happens in the traditional insurance process, right? If you want to, and at a central level, it's very hard to fix this because any rogue agent can do it, right? So with eSign and with a digital paperwork flow, you can actually fix this at a systemic level with an automated fill system, right? Like the one we're showing you on screen, right? Where data from your PAS directly flows into the document and the document is then fully generated as an unalterable PDF. So that's a mandatory detail requirement filled, done systemically to prevent things like blank form signing. The next requirement is vernacular, right? So to do this, you need something like a language select screen similar to an ATM. Each language select screen should be mapped to a workflow containing the document kit of that language. So when the customer selects a language, it should trigger that specific workflow. And then, of course, the customer sees both the document and the interface in vernacular. Third step is an authentication. All documents require some form of authentication. What happens more often than not for these three documents is insurers often do a simple OTP authentication. At best, sometimes it's just a checkbox, right? Without an OTP as well. So this process will not work. One, because it's not a signature, right? So for the proposal and the CIS, sorry, the eIA and the CIS, you need a signature, right? IRDAI has prescribed signature. And remember what we told you earlier, that where a regulation specifies signature, you can't do an OTP or click wrap. You need an IT Act eSign, like an Aadhaar eSign, if you want to do it digitally. For the proposal, of course, this would be valid. It's an authentication after all. But you need an authenticated electronic method with clear evidence. And you need to also be able to ensure that actual authentication is done by the policy holder, that the agent just didn't do it on their behalf. So net is like whether you use an e-sign or whether you use an e-authentication for a proposal, you need that entire flow to have a fully like visible, trackable, secure, evidence act compliant audit trail, right? Whatever mode you use. With a simple OTP or a simple checkbox, that doesn't happen. So with eSign process or with a document workflow process, you can actually ensure compliance, make it more secure without actually affecting your operations too much. So let's move on to the demo. Shubhash will show you the last and final demo of today, how to do eIA, CIS, proposal, and any other document that IRDAI requires a signature, how to build a workflow for that and how that workflow actually works.
Great. Thanks a lot, Aditya. So I'll come back to this mock app again for PAs that we had made. Again, this can be the app that your customer is directly buying insurance from that you've given to them, or it can be a PAS which your agent is handling. So once the policy is generated, if you are giving your CIS with it or after it, that's up to you, whatever order you want to do it. So in this, they'll just have to click to finalize CS and automatically a fully filled CS will get generated. Now you can open it within your app or your website itself, or you can send the link to this over email, SMS, or WhatsApp to your customer. So this is my CIS. As you can see, my signatures will get placed here. I'll click on proceed after seeing it. Also, one thing I forgot to tell you, here I'm assuming that the person knows English, which is why this entire agreement and interface is in English. But let's say this person requests a vernacular CIS. So you can very easily create or rather recreate this CIS in vernacular language using legality templates. And also this interface then also can change language accordingly. Let's say the person is comfortable in Bangla. So we'll click that, and the interface language, if you'll see, this has changed. Document, obviously, once it has gone out in a certain language, cannot change because it's a PDF. But from start, if you configure multiple languages for CIS, you can very easily show up Bangla CIS here. So I'll switch back to English. I'll click on proceed. My signature will get affixed. I'll give eSign consent. And my CIS has been eSigned. Again, as customer, I will get the CIS, which is signed on my WhatsApp, email, or even SMS, wherever you want. So this is my CIS, this is my signature, along with the audit trail that was generated for this. So this is my audit trail. Again, this has information about which system was used, who signed it, what browser was used, and it will also have my eSign consent. If I had chosen a vernacular language, this would have been captured in a vernacular language.